It is very unfamiliar of me. Ordinarily, I'm supposed to be there. But it has become necessary that I hold this event. And this event comes as a result of efforts that many other Kenyans have been involved in. But I think the last 2 years have been very engaging in terms of what we really want to do to ensure that our football is where it is supposed to be. So, colleague journalists, we are gathered here this morning because I want to address myself to issues that have happened in the last 4 days. So I'm going to read a small statement that I have, after which then we will have an opportunity to engage in a question and answer. And this regards the High Court ruling delivered by Honorable Justice James Makau on Thursday, to the effect that the petition filed by Nick Mwendwa and Football Kenya Federation against the DCI, the DPP, and me was dismissed. Following that decision, as you all may be aware, the Cabinet Secretary, again acting on a petition that I had filed, directed the Sports Registrar to conduct an audit or inspection of FKF. In early 2020, I agonized deeply about what further role I was going to play in the development of football in Kenya. And this was a result of the fact that after several years of writing and talking about the game in Kenya, a lot remained unchanged. For the preceding 2 years, I had written extensively and vocally expressed myself on the mismanagement of the game by the powers that be at the Football Kenya Federation, and I sounded like a broken record, a madman of the market whose actions could amount to naught. I had been called names, threatened, and even cajoled. Most of our colleagues in the Fourth Estate were quiet as the FKF leadership steadily presided over anarchy in total disregard for the rule of law and impunity, as though they were beyond reproach like Caesar's wife. Yet I saw the opportunity to make my contribution substantive enough when the Sports Disputes Tribunal invited the public to enjoin in SDT number 3 of 2015, and so my participation in the affairs of FKF started, albeit amidst a lot of opposition and negativity. As they say, the rest is history, and everyone is familiar with the story and what has transpired over the course of time. But I wish to point out to two important milestones in that period which are very significant to why we are here this morning. On 10th of June 2020, when I wrote to the Sports Registrar, petitioning her to invoke Section 52 of the Sports Act and order an inspection on the affairs of FKF, and I detailed the scope of the audit. That letter was copied to the Cabinet Secretary. The second matter relates to a letter I wrote to the Banking Fraud Investigations Unit flagging fictitious transactions at the Federation. That led us to the High Court matter, petition number 311 of 2020, whose verdict was delivered by Justice James Makau on Thursday, 14th October 2020. For the record, I was sued as a third respondent alongside the Directorate of Criminal Investigations and the Director of Public Prosecutions. May I now get to the gist of why we are here this morning. I wish to state the following. The football fraternity salutes the judiciary and Honorable Justice Makau for demonstrating once again that the judiciary is independent and justice is our shield, regardless of who is involved. Secondly, I salute the government, which is finally taking action through the Cabinet Secretary and the Principal Secretary, as demonstrated by the decision to direct the Sports Registrar to undertake a lawful audit on the affairs of FKF, which audit I believe will unearth the rot and malfeasance at Kandanda House. Number 3, in undertaking the audit, the Sports Registrar should make it a multi-agency exercise involving the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Auditor General, the Kenya Revenue Authority, and even the Public Procurement Oversight Authority. This is necessary because exchequer money has been expended by the FKF without adhering to the public finance management laws and regulations. The process of auditing the FKF must involve observer groups, including the civil society and the football stakeholders, as a marker of transparency and openness, because there is legitimate apprehension by a section of stakeholders that Mr. Nick Mwendwa, aware of how deep the rot goes, will try to manipulate the process as an attempt to sanitize himself. The leadership of the Federation, namely the President, the CEO, and the entire National Executive Committee, must step aside for the duration of the audit so that they do not interfere with the process, because you cannot preside over your own case. This is a long-held principle of integrity in this country, and it has been common. And if cabinet secretaries and heads of parastatals implicated in scandals or who have faced similar probes have previously vacated office to allow for investigations, then so it must be for FKF. The letter authored by Mr. Barry Otieno, dated yesterday, 16th October 2021, to the effect that they will continue being in office, is a contemptuous slap to the integrity of the Kenyan people and must be treated as of no consequence to the process, which is not in the hands of the FKF. FIFA must not interfere with the process, because they themselves, having subjected themselves to a public audit under Swiss law, then they must allow FKF to be audited in the same way under the Kenyan law. And I urge that the government and the world governing body engage with an open mind with a view to reviving Kenyan football and bringing to justice those who have brought it into disrepute. I will not relent in the quest to have total reforms in the football structures in this country for the sake of the millions of Kenyan youth whose talents are being wasted on the altar of bad leadership and poor governance by those supposed to nurture them. In conclusion, this is nothing personal, but all in public interest and for the good of our football. Dated 17th October 2020, signed by Milton Nyakundi. That is the end of the statement, colleagues. I now invite questions or clarifications before we finish.